Good evening. Good evening. Thank you for joining us tonight. This is going to be a really good edition of the Power Hour that we've been looking forward to for a while now. I'm one of your hosts, Ross Tedder. I serve as a civic engagement coordinator here at One Hood Power. Tonight we have a slew of county executive candidates here with us tonight, and a pretty crowded race. And this is, one of the most important races that we'll see over the next 4 years, honestly. Probably, honestly, it's really this and the president, that are going to have the most impact. So we're really excited. Before we get started, I just want to say super quickly, the election is quickly approaching. The election itself is May 16th. That's in less than a month, more like 3-ish weeks. May 9th is the deadline to request vote by mail. So if you'd like to request vote by mail, you have the option to do so. And just this week, the county started doing over-the-counter voting. So that's where you go down to the county, you request your mail-in ballot, it gets approved, you fill out your mail-in ballot, and you drop it at the same place. So effectively, it's voting early. So if you'd like to do that, go down to the city-county building over on Grant Street. I apologize, I don't have the exact address, but that's a great way to get involved and vote early. So, but thank you for joining us. We're super excited. May 1st is the last day to register to vote. If anybody that needs to register to vote, or if you've moved in the past year, if you're a new resident of Pittsburgh, if you are a new resident of a new part of town, right? Definitely want to register to vote, right? And update your registration. So we're super excited that we have Dave Fawcett, Sara Innamorato, Michael Lamb, Will Parker, Theresa Colaizzi. I hope I did not butcher that. And I don't believe Mr. Weinstein is here with us tonight. We're super excited, and I would throw that's a miracle.
Yes, like Ross said, this is the Allegheny County Executive Forum. The Allegheny County Executive is the most powerful position within Allegheny County. Not only is this individual the face of the county, but they are the administrator of the county. They set the policies, they oversee all of the departments, they sit on boards, and they represent the people. They're tasked with bringing in business and making sure the county is effective and safe for all of us. And so we're very excited to be joined by Dave Fawcett, who is a trial attorney and who has been an attorney in the Allegheny County area, for Sara Innamorato, who is a state representative, for Michael Lamb, who is the current city controller, for Will Parker, who is a long-term entrepreneur, for Theresa, who's not only a businesswoman, but a former School of Education member, and John Weinstein, who is the current county treasurer. So we want to welcome you all. And our first question the order is going to be Dave, Sara, Michael, Will, Theresa, and John. Why do you believe that you are the best candidate for this position so that you can improve the average life of an average 24-year-old within the county? The floor is yours, Mr. Fawcett.
Great. Thanks for having me. And thanks for One Hood for all the work that you do in the space where you were in. So in addition to being a trial attorney, and as a trial attorney, I do work both for civil cases, trying cases, and also on behalf of criminal justice issues. But in addition to that, I was for 8 years a member of the county council. And during that period of time, we got a whole lot done. And I was very involved in those things and learned about the county. So the fact is that I'm not a career politician. And I think that, really what would be great for the county is to have someone who has knowledge and experience with the county, but also real life experiences like I have to lead the county. And to me, I think the most important thing is the social, economic, and racial justice. From my standpoint, talking about having the knowledge and the experience, I've had a career working on criminal justice issues. And so you'll have people say they're for criminal justice reform, but I think the question that your audience has to ask is, okay, who isn't just saying, but who can do it? Who can make things happen? And the other, I guess, big area that I'm very interested in is environmental justice. And we know that our many areas that are under-resourced and are principally people of color and in African American communities have not received and are subject to environmental situations that are subpar. And as a member of county council and as a county executive, I'll be all for big investments in the communities that need it most in the area of environmental progression. And I want to talk about that as we go forward.
Thank you so much. Sara?
Great. Thank you so much for having me this evening. So I owe it to young people for my seat I'm currently holding as a state representative. When I ran originally, we talked about racial, economic, environmental justice, and we tripled voter turnout because we knew that there were so many people who were not invited into the process, and it just took candidates to go out and to engage with people who have been left behind by the status quo. I've done that before as a state representative. I'm going to continue to do that as your county executive. But really the value add in that was for young people was talking about this idea of governing together, of co-governance, of coming up with ideas on policy solutions to some of our greatest challenges together, not just decisions being made in Harrisburg, but really going into the community and understanding what is going on, right? And we have a lot of people who are falling through the cracks right now in our county, and they manifest themselves in very real ways that impact people's lives every day. It looks like human rights violations at our jail. It looks like poor air quality. It looks like increased rates of Black infant and maternal mortality and morbidity. It looks like increased homelessness and gun violence. And the only way that we are going to be able to tackle those big issues from the county is working intergovernmentally. It's working with our communities. It's doing people-centered policies. And I've done that as a state representative. I've been unapologetically progressive in a General Assembly that's run by Republicans, but I've also been able to work across the aisle, work with our communities, work with the business community, activist community to deliver for the people of this region. And I pledge to do that as your county executive as well.
Mr. Lamb?
Well, thank you very much. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it. I am Michael Lamb. I'm the current city controller here in Pittsburgh and a candidate for county executive. I grew up in one of those neighborhoods here in the city where everyone knew everyone. My parents looked out for the kids on our street, and their parents looked out for us. And when you grow up in a place like that, you get a sense of responsibility, not just for yourself, but for your whole community. And that was reinforced for us at home, mainly by my mother, who was always saying, look around, there's something you can do to help. So it was natural for me when I got out of school at Penn State to choose a career in public service, a decision I'm very proud of. I'm proud of the fact that I chose a career in public service. I find it to be a very noble profession when done right, and I'm proud of the career I've had. I went back to school at night. I earned my master's degree at Carnegie Mellon, my law degree at Duquesne, and I started to work around government in recognizing some of our broken systems, recognizing much of the injustice that we have, recognizing a lot of the corruption that we have in our governmental system. And really trying to highlight that. And I came to the conclusion pretty early on, we had to show it. Right? If you're going to if you're going to show injustice, or if you're going to try to fix injustice, you have to show it. If you're going to fix corruption, you have to show it. That's why I focused so much of my career on transparency and bringing tools of transparency to government so they can really see what's going on within our government and hold our government more accountable. And that's what I've done as city controller. I also know that the county executive needs to develop a new partnership with our municipal partners across Allegheny County so that we can deliver value-added services to every community. And that means investment in us. I want to create an Office of Municipal Partnership that's going to enable greater investment in all of our communities across Allegheny County, and investment in our people, investment in our young people. That's why I created the Allegheny Achievers Program, so that every high school graduate will be able to go to community college for free. We know that that can be game changing to young people across this county, but also to meet our workforce needs here in Allegheny County.
Thank you so much. Mr. Parker?
Hello, everyone. My name is Will Parker. I'm running for Allegheny County Chief Executive. I first wanted to say hello to all the past, present, and future advocates and activists out there. I myself have been one for many years, and I just wanted to say this one simple thing. Sometimes people think you need a crowd or a group of people to get out there and hold a protest. All you need is yourself. If you feel strongly about something, if you're passionate, or if you want to speak out on a wrongdoing, just get out there, get a megaphone, and get active. To answer your question, as the second youngest candidate in this race, I'm still connected to our younger generations. I believe in them, and I believe to hold this office, you have to have energy. You have to have lots and lots of energy to be at this place, to be at that place, to be able to listen to this resident or listen to these concerns. You have to be able to work this job day and night, and that's what I have. I have that energy. I have that tenacity. I'm energized, and I want to connect with our younger generations. I'm the right guy to invest in them, to listen to their ideas, to listen to their solutions, make sure that they get the resources that they need to grow, to start families here, to open a business here, to buy their first home here. So I'm the guy. I'm connected to our younger generations. I believe in them, and I fully support them all the way.
Thank you so much. Theresa?
Thank you. And thank you for having me this evening. And good evening to everybody out there that's watching this. If everybody knows, the ballots went out on last week, and most of us are starting to receive them if we requested them. Mail-in ballots. You want to find me? I'm the last one on the list. I'm also the last one that came in on this ballot, but I have a lot to offer. I spent 12 years on the City of Pittsburgh School Board. I was never paid one rent cent, not a penny. Matter of fact, I had to bring back my tablet only to watch them throw it in a garbage bag and outside the dumpster. That's things that to this day still rub me the wrong way, which is why I'm kind of back on the scene. I looked around. City Council was not where I wanted to be because Barb is doing a good job. I looked at the magistrate. That position wasn't vacant. This one was. I have the ability to do this job. And as far as the 24-year-olds, I'm the one that got the Pittsburgh Promise. If that doesn't prove that those kids mean something to me, I don't know what does. I really don't. I didn't put a bill out there to get it. I did it. So I think that I'm more than qualified for the job. And I did it without costing a penny to the taxpayers. I listened. I didn't raise taxes out of 12 years. Out of 11 of them, never went up. I can do this. And I can do it without causing many problems.
Thank you. John?
Yes, hi. I'm John Weinstein, and it's a pleasure to be here. Thank you for inviting us all tonight and talking to you and to your guests that may be watching. I've been blessed to be the treasurer here in this great county for 25 years. I started as the acting treasurer in 1998. In fact, you talk about young youth. I was only 33 years old when I became the treasurer. I replaced a treasurer who was 78 years old at the time, and I was 33 years old. So I've spent a good part of my career in county government. I'm the only person that's actually still an employee of Allegheny County that's running for this office. And I've learned so much in how we can help people. especially our young people. And that's why I'm doing this. You know, I have twins. I'm a father of a 7-year-old boy and girl. They just turned 7 this past Sunday. And they're the inspiration for me to run for this. And they're the energy that empowers me every day when I get up to do this for our kids and our grandkids and our great grandchildren of this region. Our children need an advocate, and I am so happy to be able to be able to do this at this point in my life. I could have ran for treasurer again, and probably easily won that race, but I gave this up to run and to do this because I'm so committed to our kids and what our children need and our young people. And when people graduate from high school or graduate from college, they need opportunities here, and they need someone that's going to create those opportunities. And it should be the next county executive that is the marketing advocate for Western Pennsylvania, to expand the jobs that are here and to go out and meet with new companies and to create new opportunities for them to locate in Allegheny County and Western Pennsylvania, so that our future generations have opportunities to have jobs here. I think that's the primary function of this position, and I look forward to working with everyone to do that.
Thank you so much. I'll turn it over to Ross to ask our second question.
Thank you. So there are ongoing conversations about what safety means in Allegheny County, in terms of having access to reliable transportation, in terms of having affordable, and safe housing, right? To a jail, right? That is not regularly in the news for, deaths or mold or what have you. What is your vision of safety for Allegheny County, and how does it involve, the various elements that we just mentioned in that question? Going in the reverse order, starting with Mr. Weinstein.
Okay, that's a great question. And I've been talking about public safety from day one when I first announced I was running for this office back in January. And this is a multiple facet question, because public safety is so vitally important for all of our communities. It's important in the city of Pittsburgh. We've seen a lot of issues in terms of public safety, especially in the downtown community. In 2022, we had the highest homicide rate in Allegheny County than we've had in the last 15 years. So clearly, there's something that we need to do differently than we were doing before. And in the downtown area, addressing mental health issues and the panhandling issues and the open drug dealing, and just basically cleaning up our sidewalks, cleaning up the streets, and making it safe so people want to come downtown. They want to come back to work. They want to create that vibrancy that we had before the pandemic. And we need aggressive leadership to be able to do that. We need, you're so right about the public safety everywhere. It's the jail. It's the Schumann Center that we've been talking about, of reimagining Schumann and reopening a facility, rebranding it for mental health treatment, for drug treatment, for truancy treatment, for diversionary opportunities for kids that maybe just made a mistake in life and so they don't have a record for the rest of their lives. And clearly that no one should die in the county jail. It's not a prison, it's a jail, it's a holding facility. And that's a major difference between people that really don't understand that. But public safety is a priority for me, and it's all across Allegheny County. It's not just the city of Pittsburgh, it's everywhere. It's McKeesport if there's shootings. It's in any community that needs help. We will expand county resources to help these municipalities so that people feel safe. We will fix the problems at the jail. There are so many, and reimagine Schumann Center. This is a long question, but I know I'm running out of time. So there's my answers to that.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I believe next in reverse order is Theresa.
Yes. This is very tough. And this is where you need to bring in a lot of people that are very experienced in social services and how to deal with not only mentally ill, but just people that have been down on their luck and need some help. Not everybody's a drug addict or an alcoholic. Some people just just had no luck in one way or another. So they too has to be addressed. And we need to relook at the way our police are being treated. They themselves go through trauma 24/7. Imagine what they see every day. They need a way to. We need to set up something that brings the right people to the table that know how to address these things. Your Allegheny County executive isn't going to be the one that knows how to handle mental health issues, but it is going to be the person that'll have the contacts that'll be able to bring the right people to the table to deal with the problems. That's just the beginning of how we can start this. And yes, we even need to work with each other that are right here on this screen. We'll meet each other later on. I'll be there. No matter what, I'm there. This is my county. I'm not going anywhere. That's it.
Thank you. I believe next is Mr. Parker.
So towards the end of last year here in Pittsburgh, the mayor gave out, I believe, was in the upwards of $1 million to 30 plus nonprofits in order to stop the violence, curb the violence. And, he gave them money out there. It was a great initiative. But, I took it upon myself to take it further and create the Pittsburgh Stop the Violence directory, because I didn't see any follow-up. I didn't see the names of these orgs being published out for the public to see or to connect when they had concerns in their community. So that's what I'm all about. I want to be proactive. And since then, we have seen a drop in violent crimes as far as homicides here lately. But, I think it was a great initiative. We just need to make sure that with any initiative that we put out, that we follow up on the back end and make sure that the people know that the resources out here. When all the shootings and everything like that, a loss of life is never a welcoming feeling. I'm touched daily. I've even taken it upon myself to get out here in the communities, at the clubs, after hours on the South Side, and try to talk with people. And just, I wear a big sign that says "Don't shoot" with an orange hoodie, just to keep people reminded that we just want to have put safety first in our communities. But all these issues are directly related to poverty. And that's why I'm running for this position, because I want to increase our value and offer people opportunities so they don't have to resort to violence or violent crimes or put anybody or themselves in danger. But we have to get serious, and we need someone who's serious to take on this issue, because you have to understand, if we do fix everything, that means some jobs are going to be lost.
Can you expand on that?
Huh?
Can you expand on that a bit?
Oh yeah. So if we fix a lot of our issues, I think it's all about balance, because if we totally reduce the number of crimes or violent crimes, then we're not going to have a lot of police officers that need to be hired. We're not going to have the need for judges. We're not going to have the whole ecosystem around law. If we fix things, we eliminate something. So we need to balance it. And I think that right now is the time, to think about balance, because right now people are preying off people who are less fortunate, people who are in poverty. They're being targeted. So and with that comes profit. So we need to balance that out and put the people first and address it in a positive way.
Thank you. Mr. Lamb.
As your question suggests, public safety is a lot of things. It's not just police and emergency response. It's about having the kind of communities that deliver on the needs of the people, and whether that is affordable housing or whether that is transit, all of those things. When you create a community that deliver the needs for the people of that community, you're going to have a safer community. I think that's what we really have to get to. But when it comes to an emergency need, when it comes to a police response, we've got to make sure that police response is holistic, and it covers a lot of things, not just police presence, But that we also talk about the need for public works to have cleaner, more accessible areas for people. And that's true in downtown Pittsburgh as it is across all of our communities here in Allegheny County. And that goes to the need also for a very significant and meaningful co-response with our police when we have police calls. Having a co-response that addresses social service needs, whether it be a mental health issue, an addiction-related issue, being able to divert a lot of people away from the criminal justice system and into treatment is something that I think we need to put a lot more focus on, and something that our Department of Human Services needs to address. And I think that it goes to our issue around municipalities. We have this fractional system of government with a lot of different police departments handling things in different ways. I want to work with them through the county so that when an emergency response is called, it doesn't really depend on what boundary you just happen to cross. We should have quality police response in every community. I think it also goes to the issues that we have at the jail. And I think the first thing you know about the jail is that there are a lot of people in the jail who shouldn't be there. And whether that's because of mental health, whether that's because of addiction, or whether that's because they were charged with some crime that shouldn't have even been a crime, like possession of marijuana, we need to really address that population that's in the jail that shouldn't be there.
That's a fact. The majority of ACJ is folks who just cannot afford bail. Last up, Mr. Fawcett. Oh, I am so sorry. Ms. Innamorato.
Thanks, Ross. So strong communities keep everyone safe. So we need to be asking, what makes a strong community? And to your question, the solution is deeply, deeply intersectional. And we can't think about one of these policies in a silo. And housing is going to be a major input into that. Passing the whole home repair bill in Harrisburg and bringing $13 million to our county in order to repair and rehab homes is one great step in that. Not only is that going to help prevent people from violently being displaced from their community because of gentrification and being forced to sell to the highest bidder, but it's also going to help communities with high levels of blight. And we know that if we can green up space, if we can fix homes and repair windows, that actually reduces crime. We have the data on it. Investing in communities, investing in housing, investing in green space reduces crime in our communities. But we also have to think about people, and you're not going to police away poverty. So having a budget at the county that's over $1 billion for human services, we need to make sure that we are deploying them in an equitable and just way that centers the communities that are in the most need. But we also need to strengthen the quality of our policing throughout this county. I always say the worst thing for a politician is a bad politician. So we have checks and balances in place for our law enforcement through the Civilian Police Review Board. And, that's something that could be strengthened and used. And that will free up when we invest in human services, that'll also free up police's time to be able to go out and solve violent crimes, and we'll be able to deliver on, mental health services and center people in that discussion.
Thank you. Last, Mr. Fawcett. Oh, you're on mute.
How's that?
There we go.
Good. So I want to spend a little time talking about this thing called crime and criminal justice. And there's two parts to this. And on the one hand, we're going to talk about criminal justice and criminal justice reform, which I'm all about. And what we know is for credibility and accountability in our system, we definitely need criminal justice reform. We need to hold the bad apples accountable. And I know all about this. I've walked folks out of jail who've been sentenced to life in prison for crimes they didn't commit. And I opened up the Pennsylvania Innocence Project at Duquesne Law School for the purpose of helping people who have been wrongfully convicted. So that's one part of the issue. The other part, though, is this. It's government's greatest greatest priority and obligation is to keep people safe. And right now in our cities, it's not safe. So on one hand, you need accountability for the bad apples, and you can't put up with bad cops or investigators or prosecutors. But on the other hand, you have to get tough, and you have to have a greater police presence. And you have to have mental health workers embedded in the law enforcement, which the police want. Now, let me just say this. There's a lot of people in this race that are talking about big concepts. But I think the real question is, who is in the position to make change? Who has specific plans? So, for example, with accountability and criminal justice reform, I know what we need. We need a conviction integrity unit. We need accountability for the bad cops, as I said. For crime prevention, you need to increase police presence. You also need to have mental health workers embedded in law enforcement, and so on and so on. So we have a plan for these things, and someone's got to have actual action steps.
Thank you. I actually do have a follow-up for you, just because I do think language is important. Can you specify what you mean when you say that it's not safe right now in the city? Just because that language obviously is used for a lot of different purposes, and it's also used by the right. So just want to be clear what you mean by that.
So people have the right to be safe and to feel safe in town. And I work in town and very well aware that there is a rise in crime, and people are very much afraid of it. And it's not a scare tactic at all. It's real. So to me, again, it's not right wing as, stop and frisk or sweep people off the streets. It's not that at all. But it's protecting our greatest asset, our gem of a city, and making people feel safe so they can come down to town and be here and work here. And there's plenty of people who are saying, and I'm talking about in the law firms and businesses, and talking staff on up, who are saying, I'm afraid. And so you need a person who's a leader and not be hardcore or right and accused of that, but sensitive to the needs of criminal justice reform, but also is going to is going to make it safer in reality, and certainly make people feel safe. It's super important.
Thank you. With that, I will throw it back to Miracle.
All right, I put the order of the next question for this in the chat. Theresa, you will be first. Today, the House Judiciary passed the first step of the Fairness Act to ensure protections of LGBT individuals, while also right here in Pittsburgh, the trial began for the worst anti-Semitic attack in our country. How will you use your administration to counteract the rise in hate and discrimination so Allegheny County is a place for all of us?
Yeah, that tree of life is still bothering me to this day. And, it's not very far from where I live. That's in my backyard. And that's a very emotional day for me. Okay. So it's very difficult for me to even talk about this day. It bothers me when I hear people talk about other religions or nationalities, because you got to think about the human person inside. This is just a vessel. It's what's inside that counts. It's what's inside. And I think that we all need to step up to the plate. I'm seeing such sad things happen. The tree of life really, guys, I'm sorry, but this is just one of those conversations I'm asking you not to have with me today.
Thank you so much. I understand. I'll move on to Mr. Parker. Do you feel comfortable answering the question? Are you okay to answer the question, Mr. Parker?
Absolutely. That's what I'm here for. I'm here to try to do my best to eliminate the hate and the racism that exists here in Allegheny County. I won't tolerate it. I can't tolerate it. That's what's holding a lot of people back from so much. And I just want people to be accepting of all. When it comes to people's how they identify themselves, all I could do is ask others to be accepting of others. Just quit putting up all these walls, holding yourself back from creating healthy relationships with other people. We need different perspectives from time to time. We all can't be the same. I encourage diversity and inclusion. I want people to just, embrace others. And when people look at me, I've been running these races, but I've stood with people who identify in their own way, and I'll still stand with them in the future. I don't want anybody to ever look at Will Parker and think that he hated anybody for anything, whether it was their right to choose, how they identify, what they like to do, their own personal preference. We got to start looking at the good in people. We might not like everything about someone, but we definitely can't be holding up these barriers based on race or gender or how someone identifies themselves. So, I'll always put the people first when it comes to my administration and be inclusive of all.
Thank you so much. And so going in the slow reverse order, Mr. Lamb, you're next.
You're muted, Mike.
Mr. Lamb, you're muted.
You're muted, Mr. Lamb.
Work on the very first ordinance of with the Human Relations Commission to recognize sexual orientation as a protected class. And it was such an important work of what we did back then. Some may remember.
Mr. Lamb, I don't want to stop a moving train. But that's what we have to do here. We didn't hear any of the beginning of your statement. You want to restart?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah. So what I said was how important this work is. But I was lucky enough to be at City Council and work on the very first ordinance recognizing sexual orientation as a protected class in the city of Pittsburgh, and did a lot of work around that issue. Some people may remember at that time one of my coworkers who was diagnosed HIV positive and later died of AIDS. And so it's something that I've been committed to for a long time. And so what's it mean for Allegheny County? To me, the first thing it means is empowering the county Human Relations Commission, and not just to have it as part of some other job. We've got to have a full-time director of the Human Relations Commission so that they can deal with these cases of hatred, these cases of discrimination, these cases that are prevalent throughout Allegheny County. And Allegheny County has to make that commitment. We have to be that community that is welcoming, that community that is stronger than hate, and that we are going to take these issues seriously. We are going to be reflect on who we are, the community that we want to be, a hate-free community. And the way to start that is to empower the Human Relations Commission. I mean, I look back on some of the organizations that I worked with over the years. I remember when we brought the Names Project here and had the AIDS quilt here, and so many people just so positive and so loving, and to have that kind of welcoming environment here in Allegheny County is something that we need to do. And again, the best way to do that is to empower the Human Relations Commission with full-time workers.
Thank you so much. And there'll be Sara, Dave, then John. So Sara, you're up.
So my mission as a county executive is to ensure that we can create a county where we can all thrive. And that means all of us. It means our LGBTQ siblings. It means Black, brown, low income people. It means folks regardless of their immigration status, and regardless of how you worship. And in order to do that, we really need to live out those values at a county level. So we have a lot of really strong non-discriminatory ordinances on the books, we do need to fully fund a Human Relations Commission and make sure that those ordinances are enforceable, because that's how we're going to be able to, make them be actionable and protect all of those folks. One of the things that I'm really proud of that I've done as a state representative is start the Welcoming PA Caucus to ensure that immigrant justice is a part of the conversation in Harrisburg and in all of the policies that we're looking at. And the county does really have a long way to go when it comes to just simple things like language access and, really focusing on how we provide multicultural supports and meet people where they're at with our human services delivery. So we really have a wonderful opportunity there to expand how we are delivering those services. In the county, we are a job creator. We have 7,000 employees who run this county. So really you have to look at the soft power as the county exec and what we need to turn the lens inward and making sure that, is the county as an employer a welcoming place to work? Do we have racial or gender pay gaps? Are we living out the values of IDEA, not just in our human services, but across departments, and making sure that we are really living out those values to set an example for the rest of the employers throughout the region.
Thank you.
Mr. Fawcett? You're muted as well.
Okay. Yep. I'm not doing that. Unmuted. Thank you. So listen, this county, like this nation, is divided in a lot of ways. So some of the ideas that are being tossed around are controversial and cause conflict. In a lot of I think a lot of the hate in this country and in this county maybe doesn't begin, but includes political speech. And to me, it's really important as county executive that you take the high road, that you talk in common sense terms that people can understand. And what people want more than anything for our region is change, and positive change. And it doesn't have to be couched in ideological terms. People want results. So, I talked about the kind of things I do in the criminal justice field. And I think I have the experience and the knowledge and the integrity through my work and my career to have that shown through so people see that. Another kind of initiative that I've been all about, and people on this call will know this, that I believe in big investments for our under-resourced, underperforming communities, so our riverfront communities and our urban core. And one of the things I proposed when I was on county council and actually had ordinances created to empower the county to create a countywide riverfront park, which would be a matter of moving rail lines back and putting in the greatest linear park in the world. It's a matter of social equity, and it's a matter of really investing in our communities that need it. Well, that's another thing that isn't ideological. It's a change that we can make here that'll be really positive, raise our profile, keep people here, draw people here. And that's the kind of initiative that I'm going to pursue rather than, a left or right talk.
Thank you. Mr. Weinstein?
Yes, thank you. Thank you so much. This is a very important question and very important to me. I think you lead by example, and I think the county needs to be the leader in educational issues on this subject. I think you lead by example, and I want to take the opportunity when you are inclusive about an administration that doesn't care what color you are, administration that doesn't care what nationality you are, where you live, your socioeconomic presence in life, or whom you love. I think then you can articulate that and you could start to educate people even better. And I think the county should be a leader in educating all of that throughout this region. But it starts at the opportunity where you have the hiring capacity and the 7,500 employees that we have, and all of the authorities that the county has, whether it be the transit authority, airport authority, sports and exhibition authority, all of the authorities that we have, El everyone is inclusive in the opportunity where we give everyone, it doesn't matter who you are or where you live or what color you are. Again, I think that's so vitally important as we continue to educate that. And that will be a priority in my administration, is about educating the people about stopping the hatred. This is personal to me. I knew people that were killed in the Tree of Life, and family members of friends of mine. And it's something that we should never have to reoccur and live through again. And no one should ever have to have crimes of hatred like that in Allegheny County or anywhere in our region. And it all starts with us. And we all have an obligation, I think, to work together to make that happen.
Thank you all so much for answering that question. And I do want to recognize that that is a very sensitive conversation to have, particularly with our Jewish communities, as well as the people who've impacted gun violence. And so just let you know there are resources out there for you. We'll put some stuff in the chat from the health department, organizations like Still Smiling. So for anyone who was triggered by that conversation, I want to take responsibility for that and offer some support and resources. And I'll turn it over to Ross to ask our next question.
Thank you. So we just came out of Black Maternal Health Week, and it's become a statewide issue as well. The governor was discussing ways to reduce the infant and maternal mortality rates, in particular for Black families, right? Unfortunately, like we all know the stat that Pittsburgh is the worst city, for Black women. Allegheny County, the stats are similar, right? Outside the city. As county executive, right, you're accountable for our budget and our departments, right, which determines a lot of these outcomes, even implicitly, right? How will you use your position to advocate for better health options for Allegheny County? And we are going to go in reverse order. Oh, nope, sorry, not reverse order. We're going to go in a different order. We're going to start with Mr. Parker. You can start.
So last weekend, I had the pleasure of attending Pittsburgh Black Birth Expo. I was the only candidate there to attend, and I even invited the other candidates to attend through social media. I'm not sure if they've seen it, but I showed up because I care. And when it comes to Allegheny County, I believe right now we're in the process of a rebirth, and I'm not doula. That's what I found out. I'm not doula that is walking beside Allegheny County as it's about to give birth to something great. Far too long, Black women have been treated badly here. And, that's why I hold our local politicians accountable. I'm going to just say this, Mayor Ed Gainey, when he took office, there was a pilot on the table to help like 200 to 300 Black mothers with a basic income pilot, which would have gave them between $200 to $300 or $500 a month. And he scrapped that program right there. He scrapped it. He could have left it on the table, and just blamed the last administration, especially that was American Rescue Plan dollars. So he wouldn't have been at fault. I have no idea why he scrapped that plan. And I would ask Sara to hold him accountable or to question him about that pilot that he scrapped and ask him to revisit that opportunity or that funding, because he still hasn't replaced that funding with any other initiative. But if we want to be serious about increasing the Black women's value here, we got to do whatever we can to help them out financially, to support them financially and socially as well.
I want to ask you a follow-up question, just on the topic of respecting and empowering, Black women. I think it was a year or two ago. I think you were running for mayor at the time. when you stated that like women were like almost using abortions as like birth control, or that people I remember the point being that like basically like we need to watch out and potentially place restrictions on there because of that propensity for folks to use it as birth control. Have your views kind of evolved since then?
I'm not sure I understand your question.
My question is, your previous stance on abortion seemed to be that you wanted some level of restriction. Has that changed?
I mean, yeah, I still want to promote, safe sex. I'm always want to promote safe sex, so we don't even go down that road. But I'll keep it short when it comes to that.
Okay. Next in our order, Mr. Lamb. Oh, you are on mute.
This is an issue that is very problematic here in Allegheny County, and it goes to, I think, a number of factors. And when you look at those, what I'll call those unhealthy factors, we know that they disproportionately affect Black children and the African American community. And whether that's clean air, I mean, you know that 1 in 3 Black kids in our community have asthma. And we know why that is, because they are what we're doing with our air right now is poisoning our air. We've got to have a health department that holds polluters accountable. We can't just have a pay to pollute system like we have right now. We have to have actual remedial measures imposed. We have to have that done in a way that includes the community. We have to do it in a way that involves investment of these companies if they're going to continue, and we have to do it in a way that has the community at the table as we talk about what those remedial measures are. The same thing could be true about lead. We know we have a problem around lead, both in our water and airborne lead, that has to be addressed through a lot of the housing improvement and what we're seeing with our public works and infrastructure improvements we're doing here in the city and across the county. Has to do with nutritious food and having the availability of nutritious food in every community. It has to do with our DHS department working around issues of trauma in these communities, around issues of violence, around issues of conflict resolution. And it also has to do with even housing security. All these issues add to the health, particularly in our African American community, and then result in, I believe, what you're seeing with respect to Black infant mortality here in Allegheny County. So the matter of this holistic approach to health is the answer.
Thank you. So next up, we have Ms. Innamorato.
Great, thank you. So addressing reproductive justice and birthing justice, that's around a lot of the things that we talked about in that previous question of making strong communities, but it's also preserving the right if and when you want to have a child. So it looks like, protecting our community health centers and our abortion providers, and those who deliver a diverse spectrum of healthcare in our community to ensure that there is access there. We also have community-led initiatives that Department of Health and Human Services can continue to fund and highlight and uplift. One of those particular initiatives is called Centering Pregnancy, which is a program that's being done in partnership with Healthy Start as well as the Midwife Center. They're doing a pilot program, but we know that these outcomes work. Not only do they reduce racial disparities between Black and white birthing people, but it's also provides overall positive outcomes for all participants. And there's other folks who are interested in pursuing that in different parts of the county, because right now it's just available at the Midwife Center. So funding research backed programs like that are led by the community and center the needs of Black birthing people, that's how we're going to be able to invest. That's how we need to prioritize resources getting to those programs. We also know that funding doulas can create positive outcomes for folks who are giving birth. So when we think about workforce programs, we need to think about how do we create opportunities for folks in the community to become doulas and be able to work with, provide that very valuable service and thinking about how we fund it.
Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Thank you. Next up, Mr. Fawcett. Oh, you're on mute again. There we go.
Yep, I think to start to answer this question, you have to say, how did we get to where we are right now? And there's no question that it stems from centuries of slavery to Jim Crow laws to now in the last century, criminal justice or injustice and mass incarceration. And we ended up with a system through redlining and so on, where we are one of the most segregated cities in the country. And the de facto segregation that occurred really harmed people of color. And they were stuck in the urban core that was where there was disinvestment, as opposed to investment in the suburbs, which where they were not free to move because they couldn't get the mortgages and so on. That's the history of it. I'm sure you and your listeners know of that, but that helps to inform what the proper answer is. Because the fact is that government and banks and corporations all participated in creating the situation that we have. And to solve this situation and to make progress and to integrate our city more than it is now, we need big resources. So we need investment in our underperforming, under-resourced areas, as I've talked about before, and we need contributions of money. So where do you go for that? You go to the banks, you go to the corporate community, and yes, you go to the nonprofits. And you've got to raise money for things like early childhood education and initiatives. And you need to make it the responsibility of the full community and people, including the folks in the institutions and organizations that caused the problem in the first place. And that's what I would work to do.
Thank you. Mr. Weinstein?
Yes, I mean, these statistics for Black infant mortality are not acceptable in Allegheny County. There's absolutely no way that we should be sitting here and even having this discussion. First off, I think it goes back to the premise of nutrition and the right kind of nutrition and being able to supply that and having, first off, I'm committed to a hunger-free Allegheny County, and that will include everyone that needs to eat. And for proper nutrition for expectant mothers, no matter what color they are. And there's a disproportion here, obviously, in the African-American community, and it's about educating. It's about utilizing our health department. It's about utilizing opportunities and the funding through our DHS and our human service department to reach out deep into the communities and find out why this is happening, where this is happening, and how we could collectively work to correct it. And you have to be aggressive and passionate about that. And being a father, I'm very passionate about children, and it changed my life. My kids are only 7, and it happened late in my life. I never expected that to happen, but when it did happen, it changed my outlook, and it changed how I feel about children, and people's grandchildren and great grandchildren. We can't let this happen in Allegheny County. We have the resources, we have the technology, we have the empowerment behind us to be able to reach deep into our communities, find out where the root of the problem is, and have the creativeness to be able to address it. And that's what I think we do between our health department, our human service department. I've had this discussion at length with basically the person that has brought this up the most in this campaign was Liv Bennett. before she dropped out of this campaign. Liv was a pioneer for infant mortality in the Black community, and I've talked to her at length about this, and she has some really great ideas about how we could address this. And I look forward to working with her and making her ideas reality as we move forward.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. Sciulli, Colaizzi.
It's Colaizzi. You know what? This is a biggie. But you remember when I brought up that white elephant in the room and I talked about the nonprofits that are making profits? I mean, we have one of the greatest medical centers in the world. You're going to tell me that they can't set up a place where it takes care of all mothers, all women that are pregnant, all women, period, so that we could get some medical attention 24/7. I think that they have the resources to do this. And as the ACE, I would be knocking on that door pretty fast. They can handle this problem. I would bring them to the table. They know what mortality problem we have. I don't want to see all these small little nonprofits come together and kill themselves when we've got one big, we had McGee Women's Hospital. McGee Women's Hospital. That in itself should be able to come back together very quickly and service all of these mothers. There should be no reason why we don't have the ability to do that. We don't got to go look for that funding. We got to hold people responsible that have the ability to do it. And I think that we can get these services for everybody and then move these services on to women. Money doesn't always change the problem. Money doesn't always fix everything. Sometimes you need to get in there and really hold people accountable and responsible. Okay, you're here, you did all this. Now give back. It's a good thing, not a bad thing. But the almighty dollar doesn't always solve that problem. Sometimes it's looking over the shoulder of those almighty dollars and what they've been doing that matters.
Thank you.
Welcome.
And so I am going to ask a question that has been submitted. We had a link going on, and Ross also put it in the chat. And this question is going to be about election protection. Should you win, how will you use your position to make voting easier, more accessible, and convenient, while also keeping the process safe and efficient? You know, as county executive, you are going to be, you have a position on the Board of Elections. And so we'll start with you, Mr. Lamb.
Thank you very much. You know, it's pretty much our smallest, if not the smallest, one of our smallest departments, and yet it is our most important department. We would be able to do nothing without elections. And while I think we do some things pretty well here, there's a lot of room for improvement in our election protection and in our access to the ballot. And so I'm certainly an advocate for anything that will expand access. If it's helpful, obviously the mail-in ballot is here and it's here to stay, and I think that's great. But we've got to be able to allow people to return those ballots securely. And I think we can do that by having drop boxes at different places around Allegheny County that can be staffed. And whether we do that at the community college or community colleges or at other county facilities, there are ways that we can sort of deputize election workers in those places so that we can have safe, secure ballots. I would also, though, tell you that we should also be concerned about the secrecy of the ballot. As new technology has developed, it's raised a lot of concern. Maybe, and sometimes it's just that, it's concern and not reality. But the fact is, as you're looking with technology and bar knows that they have a secret ballot. And I think that's critical because people are concerned about letting people know what their vote is. And so having a secret ballot is also as important and something we need to focus on, because we have seen at least one instance here was a problem, but in counties around the country where there's been concern about how voters could be identified based on the ballots that they submit. But in working with our elections department to have trained personnel people who are trained to answer questions on election day, to deal with the problems that inevitably arise, and having that training on a regular basis, not just for the current employees, but those who get brought in on election day to do a lot of that work.
Thank you so much. And the order will be Sara, Dave, John, Theresa, and William.
So the elections division in the county is an extremely small but mighty department. And, you know, I agree that we do need drop-off locations, insecure, monitor locations like schools and libraries and our community college facilities, so people have opportunities to drop off their ballot at all of these different places. We also need to think about how we're making a better experience for election day, not only for the voters, but the people who work election day. We still have facilities where people go to and vote that, you know, aren't ADA accessible, or not, you know, really in a real way, where people can go if they're not along transit lines. So I think really evaluating where our voting locations are and looking at if there's other opportunities to open up those facilities. But then also thinking about you know, really how we're creating a great experience for the people who volunteer on election day. I've heard that, you know, folks aren't getting their packets, they sign up, they don't hear from anyone. So really, as a county executive, I want to dedicate resources to make sure that we are reaching out to these folks, that we are onboarding them, and we are giving them the tools that they need to deliver on a successful election day. You know, I'm a state representative now. One of the first votes that I took was what would become Act 77, and knew that there were some flaws in there. So we have some changes that need to happen at the state level that, as county executive, I will continue to use my connections and my resources here to be able to advocate for those changes so that we can deliver on election day and ensure that we are expanding the right, expanding the vote, and making sure that it's secure and we have the tools and resources necessary to be able to deliver for the people of this county and protect their most sacred right.
Thank you.
Dave?
I'm muted. Yep. So in Allegheny County, the Board of Elections is a 3-person board. It consists of the county executive and then the 2 at-large council members. And so I was on the Board of Elections for 8 years. And while I was on the board, it was very important that I put in place procedures so we had transparent procedures for hearing cases. And when I say cases, when there's allegations of voter fraud, I put in procedures to be transparent. It wouldn't be behind closed doors, and super important. It's going to be really important in our next election. Can be our presidential election, especially if, you know, we're the epicenter of a close presidential race like we've been before. Allegheny County can be the center of that. So having a fair election system, there can't be anything important relative to the role of the county executive. It's true that when I was on the board, one of the cases we did here involved our county treasurer, Mr. Weinstein, and there was very substantial evidence that at the time Mr. Weinstein had, with his father, committed voter fraud, and that was a matter that was investigated and looked at, and then referred to the district attorney, who did refuse to take on the issue. But certainly that's very concerning if in our next election, that if it were contested, Donald Trump, for example, would have a field day with the fact that if the county treasurer were elected, that he is in charge of ultimately in charge of elections here in Allegheny County. So we need a board membership on the Board of Elections that's pristine, and that's a real concern.
Mr. Weinstein is next, and we'll actually allot some time for you to directly respond to that, since you were mentioned directly. So it'll be 3 minutes as opposed to 2 minutes.
Okay, I appreciate that very much. First off, Mr. Fawcett knows clearly that all of those allegations were nothing more than political propaganda. He sat on the board as a Republican, which he was most of his life, and along with Jim Roddy, and they hired the Republican solicitor for the Republican Party to investigate all of this this political propaganda. And absolutely nothing ever came out of it because nothing ever happened. You could make up all the allegations you want, Dave, but this was 26 years ago. It's been vetted ad nauseum over and over again, and you know it's not true. None of it is true. It never was true. The hired Republican gun solicitor that you hired and paid for with county tax dollars was removed, according to the Tribune Review, was removed from his position. His computer was confiscated. He was removed for child pornography charges, and I believe he was suspended as an attorney. So all that being said, none of it has any relevance whatsoever. It was never true. It was a political witch hunt that was an attack, a terrible attack on my father, mostly my father, more so than myself. But all that being said, we have 1,309 polling places in Allegheny County. Nothing is more important, obviously, than the sacred right to vote. One of my concerns as the executive would be the election board workers that actually work at these 1,309 polling places. It's very difficult sometimes to get people to work these boards. And, you know, when you go in there, you see some of the people working there are elderly people. And it's a very, very long day. It's a 13, 14-hour day on election day. You know, they have to be there before the polls open. They have to be there afterwards to process the machines and count the ballots. I think we need to pay these people accordingly for the time and effort that they put in there, and that an improved training program for all of them, because they only do this twice a year. They do it in the primary and the general election, but only doing that twice a year. It's not like they do it every month. So training is very, very important. I think we should expand the office of the election department and into training for the election board workers to make sure those people know exactly what they're doing and they're paid accordingly. And I'm a big proponent of having multiple locations as well for more drop-off boxes and making it as accessible to people as possible and easy to vote. If they don't want to mail the ballot in, you know, they don't want to pay for the postage, we should have more drop-off locations in secure locations that people feel safe, that they know their ballot's going to go into a box and that someone is going to count it that's responsible for it.
Thank you. Next, we have Ms. Colaizzi.
Hi. So I've worked both ends of this. I work the polls. I'm actually an elected constable. I'm elected for the polls. So I've worked both ends of the polls. And I got to tell you what, these people really work, and they work hard, and they don't get paid much money. It's a very long day, and I've worked with the greatest people in the world, and I get to see all my neighbors. I get to talk to everybody that decides to come through. It's one of the greatest experiences that you can have. I suggest everybody tries it at least once. Are we harassed? Not where I'm at. We've rather enjoyed it. We actually have become a little bit of a family. So we do a lot. So I have that experience. But as far as should the board itself be tightened up? Yeah, because when one person questions somebody else's signatures, I think that there should be a little bit of rules there that everybody gets to follow, and it is. There also should be some tightening with some people that don't pay and don't do all of their reports and everything they're supposed to do. And I've been down that road. I've been around colleagues that did not fill their paperwork out the way they're supposed to, and I have. So I have a little bit of a problem with that. I'd like to see free parking on Saturdays and Sundays, and I'd like to see the election bureau downtown being open for everybody, free parking so they could walk. It invites people back into town. I believe we should have all kind of I don't understand why we don't have already self-stamped envelopes with the mail-in ballots and just drop them in the mailbox. I don't know what the big deal is. And, we need audits too. And since we're on the subject of audits, if my time's up, I'll have to.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Finally, Mr. Parker.
Yeah, so voter integrity is the key here. We also want to make sure that we crack down on any voter intimidation. I also want to take the time out to thank our poll workers. As Ms. Colaizzi said, they work hard and they don't even get paid much. So I appreciate them. I appreciate all the judge of elections and all the work that they put in. One thing that doesn't come up a lot is first, before people even get to vote, how do the candidates even get on the ballot? And that's by candidates going around and collecting signatures. And one of my goals, one of the initiatives that I will work on is, working on something or a policy or legislation that allows us to start accepting electronic signatures. All this scrambling around and people writing down their signature, we're still in the midst of COVID, we're recovering. But, I just want to make it safe. I want to promote and advocate for electronic signature collections. And something else that doesn't come up much is that down at the Allegheny County Jail, where so many of our problems and our concerns are based around, when every time a political race comes up, we need to empower the inmates down there and allow them to know that they have the opportunity to vote. If they're fed up with the warden, if something's going on down there that they don't like, we need to empower them so they can vote for candidates who will fight to remove the person at the top who's not doing their job. So, I want to encourage anybody out there, if you know anybody who may be incarcerated right now at the Allegheny County Jail, reach out to them, tell them to vote. Let's increase the voter turnout at the Allegheny County Jail and make voting more accessible for all.
Thank you. So this next question, did we get everyone? You didn't see anybody? We're good. Okay, awesome. I am liable to do that. Our next question is also submitted, and this is a very good question that's relevant, that the next county executive is going to have to come up with a plan to address this. This is from Tanisha, who is from Crafton. What are your plans to address the closed human center, and what would you like the county to do with youth who may be facing legal trouble? And the order this time is going to start with Ms. Innamorato.
So this conversation has been a lot around Schumann Center, which is a physical building, and I want to shift the conversation to what do our youth need to be able to be productive and to thrive and to deal with their trauma and access opportunity. And so, those are two, and then there's also folks who get caught up in the juvenile justice system. So these are conversations that need to happen intersectionally and with the community, especially with youth at the table, figuring out what our solutions are going to be. So, as far as, youth that are caught up and, have some sort of violent crime that they've committed, we can have a space that is separate from the ACJ, because that is unacceptable to hold youth there, where they can wait if they're going to trial and moving through that system. But then we also need to have facilities that are separate from that you do not need to go through the carceral system at all to be able to access. We have models like the Free School in LA and other trauma-informed, transformative justice-based organizations that exist that, center youth, especially those in Black and Brown and poor communities, to access, different multicultural educational opportunities, access mentorship, get the tools and resources they need to be able to be whole members of our community. And those are different investments, but they're conversations that need to happen in partnership with the people who are currently doing the work, so that we're not duplicating efforts and that we're actually coming up with a holistic, compassionate, and youth-centered solution.
Thank you.
Thank
And I'll give, for fairness, I'll give everybody the extra 6 seconds on the clock. And the next person will be Dave, John, Theresa, William, then Michael. So Dave, you're up.
So another question that really isn't easy and requires some balance and nuance to it. Now, I've represented a number of people who are known as juvenile offenders who are being resentenced. And those are folks that committed crimes, sometimes horrendous crimes as juveniles, and in the past had been sentenced to life in prison without parole until about 8 years ago when the U.S. Supreme Court ruled that was unconstitutional. So I've represented men who committed horrendous crimes in certain situations and killed people as people. And I've learned a lot as kids. One I've learned is that generally people grow out of criminality. Number two, that these incidents that involved tragedies and deaths typically involved horrendous environmental factors growing up. So kids who were fatherless, who were in gangs, who were selling drugs from age 10 and so on. So I know that experience. In fact, some of my closest ties are with people who now are men who did engage in crime as kids, but grew out of it and are wonderful. And now they're not in cages for the rest of their life. At the same time, there are such things as violent offenders as teens, and they need to be detained. If they commit violent crimes and shoot and kill and are dangerous, it's not a matter of we can be we just have to work holistically. No, that involves a different approach that requires detention. So you definitely do need a facility for violent offenders. So it's a balance.
Thank you. Mr. Weinstein?
Yes. This is an important issue, obviously, for all of us and for our community. I've been talking about this for months now. When a road closes anywhere, there's an alternate route. Well, Schumann Center closed, and there was no alternate plan, obviously. And they received multiple state violations over and over and over again. The state issued them violations until a point where they couldn't take it anymore, and they revoked the license. So it reflects just on poor leadership. We need to reopen and reimagine Schumann Center. We need a facility. We have 1.3 million people that live in Allegheny County. You need a place to send violent youth offenders, no matter what. I've talked to judges about this, from MDJs, magisterial district judges, to common pleas judges. They're very upset that there's no facility to send these kids. They end up putting ankle bracelets on them. There was a kid in Carrick who they put an ankle bracelet on. He was 14 or 15 years old. He got the bracelet off. He went out and committed a homicide, came back on and put the bracelet back on. It's not about what's right or wrong. What is we have an obligation to help these kids. And there are so many non-violent juvenile offenses as opposed to violent juvenile offenses. If a kid's picked up shoplifting, he should not have a record for the rest of his life. We should be able to help him and rehabilitate that and explain to him why that's wrong and create opportunity for kids. If they need mental health treatment, if they need drug addiction treatment, if they need truancy treatment, other diversionary programs that we could put in place through a very sophisticated juvenile justice system that helps these kids. That's what our obligation is to help children so they're on the right track and don't commit any more crimes in the rest of their life and become another statistic that doesn't need to happen.
Thank you.
I'm very committed
Thank
to
you, Mr.
doing this.
Weinstein.
Thank you.
Miss Colaizzi.
Thank you. You know, this is right up my alley. And with all due respect, Mr. Weinstein, I'm not trying to be sarcastic and everything, but you've talked to so many people, but you never talked to me. I mean, 12 years of my experience, we've had not only to deal with the Schumann Center, we have the Option Center. We have different charter schools, such as the Academy, the Outlook program. We've addressed a lot of these problems, and these problems need to be addressed county-wide. And you need the right people at the table. It's not always just the educators. You need the parents there. You need the educators. You need the people that deal with the social issues that some of these children have. You even need the food to come to the table because some of these kids are starving. If you would have only heard some of the horror stories that I've dealt with while sitting on that board, you'd cry. You'd be sick to your stomach. And it is disgusting. And I think that we could do a lot. It's not that hard. Schumann Center was a mess for a long time. It was just one of those things that everybody just kept kicking that can down the road. Nobody wanted to deal with it. And it is a tough thing to deal with. When you're dealing with children and their issues, it is not easy. Try to sit there every month and let those parents come up and yell and scream at you about everything. Children are our future, no matter what. So we have to deal with Schumann no matter how we have to deal with it. We got to go there. So whoever it is, we got to get there. We got to figure it out. It's closed. Let's start over. What are we waiting for? I just don't understand that part. I don't.
Thank you. Mr. Weinstein, you were mentioned directly, so I'm going to give you 1 minute to respond if you have anything to say. Oh, you're on mute.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was responding. I was talking about the judges that I spoke to and the people that were actually sentencing children for crimes. I wasn't referring to school directors or things like that. So if I misspoke, I'm sorry. I apologize to Ms. Colaizzi for that. But I had heard from so many judges about at the time when they're looking to sentence someone as to where they have to send them. That's what I was referring to.
Thank you. Okay. Next, Mr. Parker.
Here's an opportunity for us to talk about really investing in state-of-the-art recreational centers. We need to get the attention of our youth. We need to make sure that we can get in and be proactive before they even reach the level of committing any crimes, any violent crimes whatsoever. And how do we do that? We work with them, from early education, and we offer them, when they become of age, opportunities for employment. We also want to encourage entrepreneurship on them. We're always talking about Schumann Center. I'm the only candidate up here that absolutely says no to Schumann. All the people, I remember there was a time there was a lot of people rallying around Stop the Station. And I want to ask, where are those people at right now? Because we should have been talking about stopping Schumann Center from reopening. This is just a plot to target our African American community and those who are less fortunate. We have to stop that. We need to help them out and do everything that we can. And also for those who don't know, we already have a holding facility at the Allegheny County Jail for our most violent offenders. Let's keep them there. Even at Schumann, some of the kids that were being housed there previously, they weren't even convicted. So, and they can't be released because when they get sent up Schumann, there's no bond. So is that what we want to do? Do we want to start with trauma early on in their life when we're holding them for crimes where they might not even be guilty, and then we're not allowing them to make bond? That doesn't just affect the child, that affects the parent who feels like their child is held hostage. So there's so much work that we have to do. And we also have to I would like to reimagine Schumer as a place for the unhoused.
Thank you. Finally, Mr. Lamb.
Thank you. You know, the last few years, closing Schumann was not necessarily a bad decision. What was a bad decision was closing without a plan. And there was no plan here for what we were going to do about juvenile justice moving forward and juvenile detention moving forward. And it creates a massive problem. It creates a problem that creates a safety issue for our community. It creates a safety issue for our children. And it creates a problem around manpower with all of our police departments across Allegheny County, who now, when they bring a juvenile offender back to their station, you have juvenile custody rules kick into place, and it takes hours and hours. Even for someone they are going to subsequently take home, it takes our police manpower off the street for an extended period of time. So there has to be an answer, and the answer is to have a juvenile detention center. To me, that juvenile detention center can't be privately run. In fact, it can't be a public-private partnership. It's got to be run by the county. To me, private means profit, and we're not going to profit off the misfortune of kids in Allegheny County. I don't believe in that. And so having a system, I believe, a center that is run by Allegheny counties to bring their juvenile offenders here so that we can spread the cost. We can build a better model, a model that addresses so many of the needs that these kids have, but also keeps our community safe. I believe is the way to do that. And working with most of these juvenile offenders are not there very long. It's not like they're there for extended periods of time. So it's not like you can put into some kind of educational rehabilitation program. What you can do is you can be a feeder to organizations like the Master Builders Association and other people who are working with at-risk youth to get them on better track. And it can really be the feeder for that kind of opportunity.
All right, y'all. We did it. We made it through. I know it was difficult doing this virtual forum, so I really want to thank you all for joining us. Our final question as we wrap up is going to be, what is bringing you joy? We have all of your links, your social media, your email. So as you speak, we're going to drop that in the chat. You can reinforce that if you would like, because we're going to have that there for the audience. But we're going to go in reverse order. So it'll be Mr. Lamb. We'll start with you, then Mr. Parker, then Ms. Colaizzi, if I hope I said that right, Mr. Weinstein, Mr. Fawcett, and Ms. Innamorato. I always mess up your last name. I apologize. That's the order we're going to go. So what is bringing you joy? And as you speak, it will put in your social media and your email and your contacts so you don't have to say that. So Mr. Lamb, the floor is yours.
Is this also our closing?
It is also your closing, yes.
All right. Well, thank you very much. And I'll tell you, what brings me joy is the work that we do. The opportunity that I have to work in public service is something that I have worked toward my whole life, and I'm glad to do it. We wouldn't even be sitting here right now talking if more than 20 years ago we hadn't made the bold leap to change our county government. That's a reform effort that I ran. And it was exciting. It was visionary, and it was about taking vision, but also putting it into action. And I think that's what I bring to this race. I mean, I bring unparalleled credentials and experience to do this work. And when you think about this job, it's about making decisions. It's about getting things done, and it takes a certain stamina to do that work and to get things done. To what I bring to this is the persistence, the perseverance. Actually, take public policy from press conference and put it into practice. It's what I've done throughout my career in implementing change, in bringing things to bear to help change and improve our government and for everyone that we serve. It's about solving problems. It's not just about talking about problems. It's not just about recognizing problems, but it's about bringing the resources to bear to solve problems. And for me, that's about investing in our communities, creating the kind of communities where people want to live, creating the kind of communities where companies want to locate, and investing in ourselves, investing in our people. That's why, again, I created the Allegheny Achievers Program to invest in our young people so that every high school graduate in Allegheny County can go to community college for free. We know that they can fill a major workforce need that we have in this community, 40,000 job vacancies in Allegheny County right now. So I'm looking forward to that opportunity, and that's what gives me joy. Thank you.
Thank you.
What brings me joy the most is being able to serve the people, being able to be an advocate for those who don't have a voice. And what brings me joy is being able to share resources like this one I'm about to share with you. For all the problems that a lot of people want to fix out here, people have solutions. I want you guys to check out this government investment incubator. It's called Innovation Works. Innovation Works is right on the north side. They operate like a Shark Tank. They get money from the state, Harrisburg, the Department of Community and Economic Development. They invest 100 to 150K on ideas, on just ideas. So if you have an idea, don't let nobody limit you, whether whatever you think it may be. If you have the opportunity to solve one of our problems, I suggest that you go over there. I just want to end with this. I might not answer every question the right way, but I want to make sure that I focus on doing the right thing. Okay. Allegheny County is more than just Pittsburgh. There's 130 municipalities that make us who we are. When the next county exec is elected, important decisions have to be made. You deserve someone who really cares. It's time for brave new leadership. You need someone who will stand up against these special interests, tax increases, and inflation. Right now, me and all the candidates are in the same race, and that's why I'm not asking for your vote because of the color of my skin. I'm asking because of the burning desire that I have within to make this county work for all of us. Overall, my top priority is to allocate funding equally and make sure that we all have equal opportunities. Together, we will invest in our communities and quality of life. Together, we will fix our problems. And together, we will build a safe and clean, livable and lovable place that we can all proudly call home. Make sure you get out and vote on May 16th.
Thank you.
What brings me joy is life in itself and the opportunity to be able to talk to people and help people. It's something I do regardless if I get paid to do it, if I don't get paid. I just enjoy it. I enjoy seeing people smile. But I have to tell you that something is bothering me a lot this evening, in case you haven't noticed. I'm very, very angry. I read a newspaper article yesterday, and Mr. Lamb, you have been the controller of this city for as long as I've known you. You have never audited the city school district. I have asked you over and over again to have done that. We could use an audit. That school district needs an audit. Your predecessor used to give me one all the time, and it taught me so much. It taught me where to go look for what. You haven't done it. So I'm sorry, that article really upset me because I asked you to do that. It would bring me a great deal of joy if at the end of this election, all of us could sit down together and work together regardless of who wins. I don't care who wins. I want to be there to help whoever it is. I've got a lot to offer. That would bring me the greatest joy of it all. That would. Thank you, everybody, for your time, your patience, your understanding. God bless you. Stay healthy and happy and safe. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Weinstein.
I don't get to respond to that.
Yes, go. You have a minute on the clock.
Thank you. Hey, listen, Theresa, the fact of the matter is, and I think you know this, that the Pennsylvania School Code significantly limits the auditability of the city controller when it comes to the city schools. Our audits are limited to funds that are at the schools themselves. and the annual report, which we do every year and provide to the school board every single year. The performance audit of the school district, those kind of audits are limited to the Auditor General of Pennsylvania, who does those audits. Unfortunately, the Auditor General has disbanded his school audit division, and I'm one of the only people that have been out speaking out against that. And so it's just not an accurate statement to make that we even have the authority. The only time we've done anything other than those fiscal audits is when a majority of the school board has voted to invite us in to do an audit. And it's the only time that I'm able to do so.
Thank you. Moving on to Mr. Weinstein.
Okay, thank you so much. And thank you for hosting this. I enjoyed the opportunity to talk with you and to your listeners. There are two parts to this question, which brings me joy. And first and foremost, the most joy I've ever had in my life is because and of my kids. When you become a father or a parent for the first time in life, it changes your whole dynamic and your whole outlook. It doesn't matter how bad of a day you've had. When you go home and they're there and they hug you and they kiss you and they tell you how much they love you, it changes that whole dynamic. And that is true and pure joy to feel. And I honestly have, for 25 years, I've been in this role as the treasurer of this great county. And that has been a joy for me. It really has, because I've met so many people through every walk of life, from janitors to presidents of corporations. And I've had the experience to work with them all throughout this time period. And I've always treated people with respect and dignity along the way. And I've met so many wonderful people and pet owners, dog owners throughout Allegheny County, and advocates for change. But there are so many issues facing this county, and we need strong leadership. We need someone that understands the dynamics of how to govern on day one. We need someone that doesn't need to be trained for this job. And I'm still there. I'm in Allegheny County. I'm the only one working with Allegheny County every day. I understand the budgeting process, the $3 billion that we use to operate this county, all of our various departments, all of our directors, all of the functions we perform every day. I understand that. And I'm ready and impassioned, empowered to take over these issues head on and take them on head on to come up with solutions that we all need for the betterment of Allegheny County. And I want to make tomorrow better than today. And I am all in 1,000%. Thank you.
Thank you. And finally, Ms. Innamorato.
So even though these forums are long, they're into the evening, they do bring me joy because they show that people care, that they care deeply about their communities, they care deeply about their neighbors, that they care about issues that the county executive has direct impact over, which is like mental health supports and transportation and the Allegheny County Jail and environmental justice and things that really matter to people's lives. And, our coalition that we've built in this campaign, it's intergenerational, it's multiracial, it includes labor, it includes environmental organizations, folks in the LGBTQ community, folks of all faiths. And that coalition brings me joy because the sun is out now and we go out and we knock tens and thousands of doors and we talk to people about what matters to them. And it's the issues that we're talking about in these forums, talking about how we're making a better region, a better world, a place where we can all thrive, that we're investing in housing, that we're investing in mental health supports, that we're investing in our main streets and inclusive community and economic development, that we're going to have quality transit. It's those kinds of conversations that really show that this region is hungry for change. It's hungry for new leadership. And people are ready to go to the polls, but they're ready to stay engaged and they're ready to co-govern with the next county executive. And that's what I'm excited about. I'm excited about what is possible because we have a lot of challenges ahead of us, but we also have so many people who are working so hard each and every day, and they are ready to lend their voice, lend their expertise, and build a better and brighter future for all of us. And you can see more of that on saraforall.com. You can see the list of folks that we have from all levels of government who are supporting our campaign and all the coalitions. So thank you for hosting this evening, and I look forward to getting to know more folks.
All right, so that is it. I'm gonna let the candidate.
Sorry,
I apologize.
that was my bad.
Dave said, "Don't forget about me. I am here."
Yeah.
Dave, go ahead.
Great. So I think throughout my life, my joy and satisfaction has been taking on big challenges and injustices, and working with teams of people to make change. And when I say change, I don't mean a policy statement or something else, but real, tangible change. So as a lawyer, taking on some of the biggest, baddest corporations in the world and having a remedy that solves a problem, walking men out of jail who are innocent but have been imprisoned for life, and after 20 years now have freedom for the first time. That brings me joy. When I was on the county council, taking on big challenges and getting things done. So we voted to consolidate the row offices. We passed the smoking ban, which might seem little, but was big. My daughters worked in restaurants and bars during high school and college years, and now I knew that we had done something that would make that environment healthier for them, a real tangible change. Having ordinances passed, actual ordinances, giving the county the power to create a countywide riverfront park that would be transformative, an actual thing. That's what I like to do. And then as county executive, that's what I bring to the table. I say, let's look to where we want to be in 10 and 15 years, and what can we do now to make that happen? What real tangible changes can we make? And so, if being progressive means talking the talk or walking the walk, I'm both. We want to make these big changes, and that's why I'm running for this job. I want to make real, tangible, needed change. So, Fawcett for countyexec.com. I appreciate everybody's consideration and support. Thanks so much.
Okay, so now we have reached the conclusion. I do apologize for interrupting earlier. Candidates, you may leave. We did post in the chat not only how people get in contact with you, but the mental health resources. So again, thank you all so very, very, very much for joining us. I know y'all have families and birthdays and things you need to celebrate and get back to. So again, thank you all so much for taking this 2 hours out of your Monday. And bearing with us as we overran. So thank you so much. I hope you all have a great evening. And that has been our candidate forum, right? And so we do these forums because we think it's very important to ask questions and to give you an opportunity to ask questions of the candidates themselves. Some of the things we did not disclose is that these questions were questions that you all posed, that you said that you wanted the county exec candidates to answer. And so that's why we crafted this that way. And so we hope you share. Remember to engage. If you are in the Pittsburgh area on Wednesday at 6 p.m., we will be having another district attorney forum, but this is going to be in person at 460 Melwood Avenue. It's going to be from 6 to 7:30. We'll talk with candidate Matt Dugan. Both district attorney candidates were invited. Only Matt Dugan confirmed, but we are here to host forums for all the candidates and contested races because we think it's very important that people share their ideas, talk about why they're running, and that you have the ability to ask them questions. This is not who we as hosts do or do not like. It's about who's running and why you should have the opportunity to ask them questions, to be engaged, and to know what their plans are for your city and your county. So again, we want to thank you all so much for tuning in. As a reminder, May 1st, you got to register to vote. May 9th, you can register to vote by mail. And May 16th is election day. If you want to catch flights and not feelings and you're not going to be here on the 16th, remember, if you're in Allegheny County, you can go down to the Board of Elections office, 542 Forbes, vote on the fourth floor. You can do that from 8 to 8:30 to 4:30, Monday through Friday. You can vote in person. It's early voting. Again, we process the ballots on election day. And so, yes, and I will turn it over to Ross to close us out. But again, thank you all so much to all of our candidates.
Thanks again. I have nothing more to add. Miracle spoke all of that pretty well. One thing I will say again, just because psychology says it's beneficial to repeat things. May 16th, election day. May 9th is the deadline to apply for a mail-in ballot. And frankly, if you're applying for it on the 9th, don't, because you don't know when that thing's going to get to you. Over-the-counter voting is a thing. And if you know anyone who's unregistered, May 1st is a deadline to register. Like Miracle said, our conversation with Matt Dugan on Thursday is going to be really good. The DA is kind of one of these elusive positions in Allegheny County that the progressive movement over the past couple of years hasn't had the chance to really, really take. So this is a chance for folks to get to know, one of the candidates. This is a chance for folks to get to understand why this is important. And we hope to see you guys there. So that's Wednesday. That's at 6. And that's going to be here at the Black Box Theater. That's 460 Melwood. If you're from Pittsburgh, we give directions based on landmarks. If y'all know where not Brugger's, Einstein's is, right on Baum Boulevard. If you're coming towards Einstein's, right, from JD side, keep going until you get to the Porsche dealership. You make a right-hand turn, and you just follow that road down. So that's my Pittsburgh directions. But thank you guys so much for joining us, and we'll see you hopefully on Wednesday. Not Wednesday. Yes, Wednesday. And definitely next week.